are, darling. 4 weddings. Here are Rocky 4, 5, 6.
Excuse me, I bought this video from you last Saturday.
So?
Well, I can't understand a word.
Train spotting? Not surprised. All talking in Scotch, ain't they?
No, I mean, it's the sound.
Yeah.
It's hopeless. It's absolutely hopeless.
Yeah, no trains in it either. I suppose that's my fault as well. Here you are, darling, $4.99.
Well, the picture's rubbish as well.
Well, that's your tracking, mate.
It's all right on my other videos.
Tracking's touchy.
Be careful. Most pirate videos are unwatchable, and there's no comeback.
Got a receipt, eh? Got a receipt?
Look, you said last week.
Said's no good, mate. Oral contract. Not worth the paper it's printed on. Yeah, darling, 4 weddings. Train spotting. As advertised on Crime Stoppers.
Pirate videos, daylight robbery.
What's happening?
Was that a battle or what? I mean, really?
We are Talkin Headz. Talkin Headz. Levels exceed the red. Metalheadz. We're Talkin Headz. Levels exceed the red. Pushing the mud to the edge. Heavyweight pressure coming down for the Metalheadz. Are you ready for this? Talkin Headz. Talkin Headz.
It's just my label, you know, Metalheadz is my label and I've been running it. I started with Doc Scott many years ago, 001. And it was just prototype label, which I guess it still is in that sense.
I mean, he is a figurehead, you know. We have a few in the scene that are like really important key figures, and you know, there's Goldie and there's Groove Rider and Frosty, all these people that really hold up the whole thing and make it solid.
Metalheadz has been there since like the big explosion, you know what I mean? It was all the elements in Metalheadz, all the artists have been there since like day dot.
Goldie, with what he did with Metalheadz, really did take the scene and the whole drum and bass thing to another level.
For me, Metalheadz sort of, it brought a lot of people together, and within those sort of ranks, everyone sort of set the basic standards of how the music is today.
Concepts ahead. Everyone's in their head. It's just saying that Headz must keep their heads and just go forward. It's not saying that Metalheadz is a label, it's the most prestigious whatever. We don't blow any horns, man. It's about a lot of people that have been creative, that have been together and making it work.
They've done a wicked job. If you look at the back catalogue, I mean, there's very few labels that have got a back catalogue as rich as the Metalheadz back catalogue, you know.
It's really weird that the kind of symbol. I mean, this guy Darren did it, and it was really weird because it always reminded me of a very strong icon, because it was literally meaning that long after I'm dead and everybody else is dead, the music will still be here, which is why it's a skull with a pair of headphones on.
I don't reckon there's many other labels, you know, around that, you know, you can have that kind of artistic freedom to do what you want, and there's no real barriers, you know, holding you back from, you know, taking it a step further. That's what Metalheadz is about.
There's so many different people involved within it, like from so many different backgrounds. We're not all coming from a jazz background, we're not all coming from a rock background, you know, it's all different.
The thing about Metalheadz, when that came along, it came at a time when there was beginning to be a little bit more of a segregation in British clubland somehow. I don't know what happened, but you know, rave came along and it kind of made things either sort of white or black somehow, you know what I mean? And so when I went to Speed and certain breakbeat clubs in the early days, it was the first time for some time that I was going to clubs where I was getting this mixture again, and that really meant a lot to me. Well, the Blue Note, of course, used to be the bass clef. People were getting sick of the West End policies and all that business, and the fact that you couldn't really find a good small club in London to play intense music. So in a way, the timing was brilliant, and you know, they set the place up, and it was a huge success. Obviously, it was there that Metalheadz really kind of kicked off.
Blue Note has just finished after 3 years, and it's just restarted with the Complex. And I mean, the Complex was an old haunt of ours. But it's just weird. I mean, I've had so much fun that it's just gone like that. And 3 years have just been gone. I just don't know where they went, they just went.
It's a place that people go to listen to new tunes. It's the only regular, well, 3 years.
And whoever didn't come, you missed it.
Blue Note's school for drum and bass, man. It's like going to school. You do your weekly class, you know, you go to Blue Note, you hear what the new shit is.
Yeah. Who's doing what?
Yeah, who's playing what, who's mixing up, whatever. It's school, man, do you know what I mean? It's not like going to a club, it's school, and everybody knows that.
I think that's the sort of original place where you can sort of play where you want, play what you want, you know. Like DJs in there really go for it proper, you know.
I mean, you get a total cross-section of people. I mean, from I've had people turn up and say they're in the country for 3 days, they've just come from Denmark, or, you know, hi, I'm from Copenhagen, or I'm from Iceland, but then you get people who are from North London, South London, West London. You also get people driven down from Watford, Manchester. So they come from everywhere. I mean, even you get people from the States who might be in town for a week and they still make it down. Yeah. So you know, it's kind of like a global family there.
At clubs, hard tunes go down well, and like hard beats and hard bass lines. That's what people want. That's what they want to hear at a club.
People want music that's going to make them dance. It's going to make them move. It's about, as I said, creating an atmosphere. Yeah. Although some DJs I've heard Doc Scott come on and bring it right down before he drops something that's lethal.
I'll never forget when Groove Rider plays and he tears down the whole place all the time.
They know their beats now.
As a DJ, you'll have certain things, and you'll be playing certain tunes, and you'll think in different places. You're thinking, right, that these guys aren't ready for this one yet. But in Blue Note, they're always ready, and you're just dropping the new shit there, definitely.
When you're in the club, you know, you're all in there. I mean, everyone can hear what tunes are being dropped, and like, you know, if anyone's coming with any new styles, you know, everyone's going to hear it. You know, so it's like the place to be, really.
If you're going to hear a new style of beat, you're going to hear it there first, I reckon, more than anywhere else, because people are more inclined to experiment with their music down there rather than anywhere else.
A lot of people have been to Blue Note or whatever, and they've heard about Metalheadz, and when it comes to their town, when they do a tour or something like that, everybody's there because they want to get on they want a piece of the action, they want it, you know, they want a piece of the vibe.
And they know that it's going to be of a certain standard, you know, and of a certain quality.
It's all about my head, you understand? Metalheadz is bad, you understand? It's the biggest and best thing going.
I think people just didn't have the confidence that these small scenes could ram out big places, you know, and of course they can. You know, we used to do it at the Fridge, and you know, there's nothing better than sort of playing underground music to 2,000-3,000 people. Do you know what I mean? And I think that now that the Complex has come along and you've got all those different options and all those better sound systems, you can really, you know, basically pump up hardcore music.
Yeah, there's a vibe at the clubs, obviously, because that's where everyone meets up, you know. That's where everyone would always be together at a club, unless there's a kind of type of meeting, or, you know, someone said we go go-kart racing.
It's going to be cheers and beers, and a few dog steers. No, it's about the speed right now. J Magic happens to be the Don driver as far as their heads are concerned. So I'm just going to follow his black line on the track.
I was very worried about this race before.
I've got no gold, if you notice. Took away my weight. I lost about £1 pound in weight now, so that should make my advantage a little bit better. Metalheadz pie. Next step in the metal merchandise, get a Metalheadz pie. Well, you have some.
If you're in any doubt as to the amount of space available to drive through, don't do it. There's plenty of time out there. Take them somewhere else. Teams, do you want to do that in here before we go next door?
Who thinks they can drive? Who thinks they can drive?
I'm over here, man. I'm here.
He's my team, man.
Okay. Who's got a team? Who else has got a team? Hey!
What are you saying?
That's my crew there, man.
We switched on you.
Number one.
Time for all the heads to come together. Listen to the drum and the bass to take you higher. Cause we come to inject it, we come to play it, we come to rock it, so we come to smash it. Headstrong.
Ten years ago I was at work like everybody else, I suppose, and one day came Acid House. That's when my life changed.
It wasn't until 93, 94 when I started to hear what was then called hardcore stroke jungle and was changing into drum and bass, and I heard a couple of tracks, one by Bookham in particular, a track called Music, and what I liked about it was just and Apollo as well, they were just simple and clean tracks that just had funk in a new way I hadn't heard before.
88, I was probably just about discovering the hardcore scene then. I mean, there was a group over here called Spiral Tribe Travellers who used to, you know, raid people's fields and set up tents and sound systems, and that was the first, you know, my introduction to hardcore was Spiral Tribe, basically, in a field with loads of people off their heads on the E, and, you know. Before that I was a hip-hop boy. That's all that powered me, was hip-hop. The
for me, the big thing about drum and bass is the fact that it is, to me, a parallel to hip-hop. The fact that when hip-hop started, it was 2 turntables and a mic, and it was the fact that it was something brand new, and there was an ocean of potential, because rock and roll is tired, you know, they keep regurgitating the old things, and you just need every now and again just to close the door and to look into a wide space and go, oh wow, this is the potential. So you start off with a Planet Rock, and then you get a, you know, then you get, I don't know, you get a Tribe Called Quest, and then you can get a Wu-Tang Clan, you know, things develop, you know. And with drum and bass, to me it's the same thing. It's early days really, we're just 5 or 6 years into it.
First originally they used to call it like bonehead music. When I used to work at City Sounds, they used to call me Ray Bonehead because it was so intense. And then it came up with like break hardcore. No, it started off as hardcore, and then after hardcore we started calling it jungle, and jungle stayed with the scene for a long time. And then it went into like, you know, dark, do you know what I mean? And then it kind of went into jump up and drum and bass, and now the new term for it is jungle stroke drum and bass.
I would say it's a music to express the times we're living in right now.
I think it's just music of today, but it can be listened, you know, any time. It's like when Goldie called his album Timeless. It's kind of summed it up really, hasn't it, in one word. Anytime, doesn't matter. I mean, we still listen to 70s music now.
I mean, I see dance music, the whole scene, as a train journey back from the 70s and 80s. There's this one journey, and there's trains going down these tracks, and every couple of years it stops, and it's all one music. It's all back from funk, from jazz, going to electro, going to hip hop, going to disco music, going to house music, going to rave music, and every now and again one of these music springs off and creates a little scene, and some of them grow massive and others stay small and have their small followers. So of course drum and bass is at the front of that train at the moment. Well, I mean, my influences really start from people like Marvin Gaye, Herbie Hancock, Yellow Jackets, Bob James, more of a sort of jazz, funk, fusion and soul-based background.
The inspiration for me was just really I heard some things that were so different from what I'd heard before, and that's what inspired me, do you know what I mean, rather than one person.
My dad used to listen to studio and reggae, his sisters grew up listening to soul, a lot of rare groove.
It was for me when I was at school, and I was just listening to, I was in the whole rave scene and the hip hop early scene, and it was difficult really because I was like 14, 15 and I couldn't get into clubs because I was too small.
In terms of really getting into the music, it was the whole sort of breakdance era that really kind of intensified the whole feeling.
I don't know, it was just like reggae artists I was into, like Dennis Brown, Frankie Paul, like there's just loads of them, you know. And then like hip hop was Mantronics, like Big Daddy Kane and stuff like that, you know. I was into that sort of stuff.
Yeah, Ultramagnetic MC is like one of my all-time favourites. I mean, from way back in the day.
See, for me, and my influences are from like people like The Clash and James Brown, and it's all fucked up, it's all mixed up, you know what I mean? But these are people that I've grown with.
I like a lot of the 70s jazz, psychedelic jazz, and funk, like Funkadelic. Yeah, and Miles Davis, Herbie Hancock, all those kind of people.
I wasn't really even listening to the vocals or anything like that. It was just the beats I was into.
They like all kinds of music for all kinds of reasons. They listen to sounds, you know, they're not biased towards something. If they hear an old Annie Lennox track and there's a good vocal part, they'll use it. If they hear a bit of Sun Ra and they like that kind of weird electronic keyboard he used in 1968, they'll use it. You know, they're not kind of, oh, that's jazz, we're not going to use that. They're very open-minded musically, and I think that's very important.
Yeah, well, it's like, you know, as I say, that train, we've got all those carriages behind us to go through and look at and just pull out what we want.
The whole music moves at such a fast pace, you know. It really does, because evolution is such a main ingredient of drum and bass, which is what keeps it fresh, which is what keeps it interesting.
People that are into our music and, you know, buy our music, you know, whatever they're doing around our music, they kind of feel the vibe of us as people, because when we're making the music, that's our soul coming out of us, you know, and it's kind of jumping out onto vinyl, so you can listen to what's inside of R2 Headz.
It's the first British music since punk which has got an identity, really. I mean, if you ask anyone about drum and bass, they immediately say England or London or Bristol or wherever. So it's the first music since punk to have its home in the UK, which is something that we're proud to be involved in, really. So it's good as a movement that we can all look back in 30 years, whatever, and say we started something.
In one hand, it's brilliant because you can go and do it in your bedroom, and you know the real dons will come through with their own sounds, and therefore they will be at the forefront of it. But the scene does need the four heroes to come along and to take the level to that higher point, and same with Groove Rider, and with Goldie, and with Ronnie Size, and with DJ Crust and Dylan J. Vaughan. So they're all waiting for the next man to kind of go one step further, and that's the great thing about that scene.
You've got people like, as you said, you've got Optical, Digital Ed Rush, and all those people that are, and Dillinger, that are real bass scientists, you could call them, that are pushing the boundary forwards when it comes to mutating bass sounds.
This is one of the finished breaks that I've been working on.
He's out there on his own, man. He's got his own sound, constant inspiration, and the thing, he never likes any of his tunes. You ask anybody and they're like, I can't understand it, because he never likes any of his records.
I find when I do a track, maybe I don't never put all my all into a track. I don't think I've ever done that yet. What I do, I might get like the breaks done and certain parts of the track that I really like done, and then I just fill up the rest of the track with sounds that's similar to what I want.
You can hear a Dillinger tune within the first 4 bars. You're like, that's Carl. You just know. Is it the bass? I mean, it's his beats. Before his bass even drops, you know it's Carl.
All that's in there right now is just a kick, just all in there, just in there right now.
You've got Carl, you know what I mean, he's knocking out some really fat tunes, the things that he's doing with bass lines, you understand, you know, he's coming with just like totally unique styles, and you know, he's trying, you know, I can't hear him, I mean, copying anyone at all, you know, it's like he's on his own, he's doing his own thing, you know, and it's like he's creating his own sound and he's going his own direction.
There's different techniques of distorting your bass. You can do it live, you can... See, that's just a bass flat kick. And then like you can... There's loads of ways of doing it. You can just you can double it up and distort another extra bass line track on it. You get a lot of hiss, but it keeps it raw. Totally. When it comes in, it's like an atmosphere to it. And you can... There's different ways you can do it. That's the way I'm doing it today. Wow. There's loads of ways you can get that distorted sort of feel.
The first time I met Dillinger, he started talking to me about hertz and frequencies, and I was like, oh man, this guy knows his bass. You know, he's into it for like serious, you know.
Carl's the worst one. He's got tannoys, but his tannoys go lower than my ones, and several council letters.
My biggest influence is Dillinger, really. Dillinger's very powerful eyes, very quiet but very powerful eyes. I mean, he's a bit of a demon, man. Carl really could take any dance floor apart, and has done for many, many years, because Carl's that kind of guy.
And the breaks are all together at the moment, but...
The
frequencies that he gets, the way his tunes sound totally apart from everybody else's because of the way he sets up the bass frequencies. He's got total understanding of what he wants to hear, you know.
That's just me barking. Human bark. Sometimes I get sample CDs now and then, but if I can do it myself, I'll just get the mic out, I'll just make a noise with my mouth, I'll twist it up in the sample or whatever, and it just sounds like an effect. I need to get sessioners in to play what I want them to play, because sometimes you can't always find a sample in a certain key. I mean, you can stretch, and at the end of the day you're losing quality. You can never find exactly what you want. Whereas now I'm working on my album, I'm actually getting people in, telling them what I want to play, and just locking it all in tight. Just resampling it with different drops. Just different percussion sounds, a little funk thing.
I want everybody to make good records, so I can have more records to play.
Blasphemy is going on! Blasphemy! There's some wiggins going on out there. I don't like it, you know. I'm gonna go and look for my mate, the devil's advocate. Where are you? Where are you? Boys! Go on, son! I'm a panel beater! A quick panel beater! Move right up, the champion. Reigning champion, reigning champion. Reigning champion. I'm a panel beater! A quick bit panel beater! All these rows can yell with his shit today. Reigning champion. No, reigning champion! Predator! Look like you, Bang! Get it bust up! There's no losers in this game, you know. There's no winners and losers. Tear it out. Right? Yeah, man. Let's do this, man. Rubbish! Like this! Like this!
Just for you heads, we're abstracting it. Abstract it from the metal hardcore design. Roll the guitar. We abstract it from the metal.
It's literally like surfing, like hopping on a wave. It just takes you away, and it's almost like you get into a state where you can't do any wrong.
Whether you feel happy, sad, or you feel aggressive, or you feel whatever, it's the communication of feeling in music. So therefore, we don't have to necessarily lay down, verses and choruses of repeatedly saying the same thing. We can sort of make the listener use their imagination more.
Irrelevant of what bracket you may put it in, if it's good, it will affect people in one way or another. It will touch them.
Before, how it used to happen was you used to have the top guys, as I said, like Goldie and Four Hero and Photech and all those kind of people. They was putting out tunes that would make a lot of people in the scene think, how did they do that? And then go in there, they go in their bedroom or in their studio and try the most techniques, and new things will be discovered.
You create so much different sounds, so much different bass lines. You do things with breaks, and when you put them together, you do create a total new sound.
All about vibes, really. So I work a lot with Ed Rush and Fierce, and we have a little kind of group of people we work with. And I think for us it's just about the vibes and the tunes always, man.
This is where we do Virus. All of the Virus stuff gets done here.
And is this where you've been doing the album with Ed Rush?
Yeah. We've been kind of doing it. We haven't been telling him when we're doing it. We've just been doing it the last 6 months as we go along.
Today's the last sort of day we have to get a track or maybe 2 tracks. So yeah, today's the final day we have to get any new material done for the album.
It's been like 6 months in the making, huh?
Maybe even a little bit more. But we sort of made it without even realising, we just came in this room once a week and sort of made a track a week, and now we've got a build-up of material, so it makes sense really to put it all out at once.
This is what I call the heart of the studio, the sampler, the E-Mean sampler.
that's the texture man. He knows, he knows about layering the tunes and getting maybe more of a deep texture out of it, more of a wider soundscape, if you like. Matt also knows about all the techniques, and if I say, that sound, say sound A for example, I feel it should be a bit more whatever, if I use a word to describe it. Matt knows what I'm talking about, and within 2 presses of a button and a little processing, it's there.
This is so nice. It's got to be some nasty. That's like our standard bass sound.
Very often the tune might be in a certain way up until the last hour.
Yeah, and just all.
And in the last hour, it's like, wait a minute, that B line's all right, but to be honest with you, I know between us we can do something a lot better than that, and the other one's like, yeah, I know, I've been feeling the same thing as well. So very often it's even, even in the last half an hour of making the tune, that can shape the whole thing.
Optical, I was into the way that each one's experiment, because it'd always be, Optical is one of the, true engineers of music, generally. General music has been involved in a lot of different things. He's good that he focused on drum and bass as his forte.
I know that Matt Optical is like pretty much inundated with remixes, and he's got his own album projects. Him and Everest have got a Virus project coming out, and all the 12s he does. I mean, that guy is 24/7 in the studio.
That kind of thing is pretty cool. Nice bowing speed or whatever, so you can get vibrato and strings and
He's always looking to just push it forward and just move it into the next dimension, put it through another little effects unit and put it back into the sampler and twist it up again.
That's what they call our scary strings on this thing, really. I don't like to sample other people, so this is a whole album here. We should be coming back in a minute. There you go.
As time goes on and we're making the track, it kind of shapes then. It's a sort of piece it together as we go along job, really.
So this should be the track, hopefully.
It's all about a let-off, I think people's true character comes out in the music when you hear something like somebody could be quiet, they're like not outgoing and loud spoken and that, but in their music they express themselves properly.
For the artist to be able to make a record tomorrow or tonight, play it out on Slate tomorrow and have it on the streets a week later, that's really important.
Do it on a Friday, play it on a Saturday, and you see, you can gauge the reaction. That's what shadowboxing was. Shadowboxing was a night in the studio, a rough mixed down track, and it came together.
You make the tune and you cut it on dub and you go out that weekend and you just get instant response.
I think Metalheadz is the most respected drum and bass label by far. I think it's definitely the one that pushes back, the parameters and breaks new ground all the time. Distortion doesn't really matter with drum and bass, so it's just got to be loud. It's like if it distorts a bit, and that doesn't matter too much as long as it cuts through and makes people's ears bleed. It's a case of listening to the track, making it sound, sorting out what EQ you need, i.e. does it need more bass, more top, do you need to bring the snare out, do you need to make it sound grungy or whatever, get all your levels set, just you're happy with it, then once you've got all that together you're going to cut it in there, and that's just how drum and bass is cut, one track at a time straight onto the load. They'll push all the machinery to make it distort and to make it sound this grungy sound, and so I suppose that is using it in the wrong way, because it's like digital and it's supposed to be exact and pure and this, that and the other, and that's why digits were invented, I suppose, to make it more exact, and they're sort of misusing it, I guess, to make this effect. Dillinger. Probably my toughest client, because when he comes in, it's like literally I have to cut something 3 times because you're pushing the lathe so much, something always goes wrong over, and it's literally like I'm sitting here thinking the lathe's going to blow up, and then you're talking like between around £10,000 to get it fixed. I mean, the head blows, and Dillinger just pushes and pushes and pushes. He's like one of the most level conscious drum and bass artists, and it's all very distorted and in your face, and it's tough to cut, but it's worth it. You know, everyone comes in and says to me, you know, when the Dillinger track comes on, you really know about it, it sort of slaps you in the face.
At the end of the day, you've got to make music that the DJ wants to play. So I think that is the most important thing, that you've got tunes that are accessible to a dance floor and that have got life and have got an atmosphere, and that are tunes that people want to hear, really.
Lemon D and Dillinger, you know what I mean, they're wicked producers. Now as they've got a bit older, now they're going to start to DJ, you'll see a different type of vibes.
Over the last, say, 3 or 4 years, I haven't seen any DJ come into a division, I call it the Premier League, right? In the Premier League, you're through by the Fabio, Doc Scott, Randall, Andy C, DJ Hype, and all the well-known names, yeah. The last 4 years, I haven't seen nobody break into them. It's like it's closed off kind of thing. The last guy that did get into there was Andy C. Yeah. And he got in there via his tune, Long Dark Tunnel, blew up massive.
A long time ago, they termed everyone wants to be a DJ, everyone wants to be an MC. There was even, you know, tracks coming out with those lyrics in them. And that is the case today, you know. A lot of people, they've got an interest in it, and they feel that they want to express that through either MCing or DJing.
Just listen, being versatile is my aim on my mission. In the drum and bass scene, you got to be original. I'm watching my sounds of playing with different methods. You better run for cover when I'm blasting through the speakers.
The thing with DJing is just knowing the crowd. I mean, it might take you 20 minutes to get your feet with the crowd. You drop a few different styles, see what they're bouncing off more, and then you can head more in that direction.
It's got to be a must, rough and rugged, no confusion. It's got to be a must, rough and rugged.
You got your records, you hunt for your tunes, you know, and then you put them together. You go out and you play it, you put all the tunes together, and if that's the sound you like, that's what you will play. And if the crowd happens to like that, and you know, then it's all good for them at the end of the day. But the way I look at it, it's nice to put 2 fat tunes together. You know, if you can put 2 fat tunes together and create a really fat mix, you know, you really make a big impression on the crowd. You definitely will.
It's about playing music to me. I don't care who's in the audience. To get what I'm saying, it's just the fact that there's an audience is enough for me. It doesn't matter who it is. To get what I'm saying. So from there, I try to do the best that I can to make them kind of move. You know, and it's a buzz for me to do that. So I'm not looking at the faces, I'm looking at the feet. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those situations, so that's how it works.
It's like football, it's like tennis. Some days you have a good day and some days you have a bad day, but I think a good DJ is someone who can be consistent, and no matter what they're going through or what turmoil's in their head at that time, they can switch off and just concentrate on the crowd and entertain them.
When you go in the rave and you see how it is, you just feel from there really, rather than say, I'm going to play that, I'm going to play that.
When I was younger and DJing in my bedroom, I always imagined being in like the scenario of a club atmosphere where you got the crowd out there, and whatever you play, you can take them on whatever like journey they need to go on. And it's an unbelievable feeling when you catch the right vibe and everything's clicking, and it's like autopilot. You don't need to think about it. You look in your box and it's like that record, this mix, that, you know, it all clicks together.
What is it all about? It's all about the drums and the bass. It's all about the platinum breaks. Listen to the drum and bass sound, we demonstrate.
It's kind of a subconscious thing. You don't consciously know what you're going to play or where you're going to play it, but you just feel the vibe and you try not to make like really conscious changes, you know what I mean? Try and keep it flowing on the same vibe.
Some things are planned, but you know, 50-50, man. Sometimes something comes into your head and you just, say on the mind. It's from the crowd and from the DJ spinning, and I mean, you pick up some certain things and you just, It all just depends, like the mood you're in and what's going on, and it depends. It's a lot of feeling. That's what it's all about, just a feeling.
That's what the DJ's all about. It's about working with the crowd. You feel what they want and you go with them.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think in any like style of music, if you get a set of DJs, they're they're gonna have friendly competition. If they don't, the music's gonna die. There has to be friendly competition to take the public every week to that cutting edge. You know, because they have to be at that cutting edge within themselves. You know what I mean? Because if Groove slips for a week, someone's gonna cut him. You know what I mean? If Scotty slips for a week, someone's gonna cut him. So they all got to be on point.
It's the bumping sound, of course, to break that body down. Metalheadz massive, are you ready for this? Headz simply breakbeat specialist. So send it, start taking over, so check it.
As soon as you drop a tune in and the crowd starts going mad, then you know that, you know what I mean, that's a good tune. And then if you bring in another good tune, you're mixing the two together, and then the whole crowd's going to, you know what I mean, going berserk. Then, well, it's just, you know, that's an experience on its own, really, I suppose.
Marley Marl, local Marl, man. Marl's cool. Marl's DJ end of Headz, you know what I mean? He'll DJ that, isn't it? And you listen to Marley and you can hear Randall as well, because Randall's called him out. Which is no different than Source Direct's project, do you know what I mean? Marl's very much like that, because he gives me two jokes, have a laugh. Marl's very much like that. And Bailey, man, Bailey's like the heavyweight boots. He's coming with the heavyweight boots, man.
I just like to mix. I don't necessarily, every now and then, it depends what mood I'm in. Sometimes I might chop a tune in and out here and there, but it's never going to sound out of place. I try not to make it sound that way anyway.
To be a DJ, really, you have to have a love of music, so the two things go hand in hand. For me personally, anyway. But you know, I would never stop DJing. You know.
What I like to see DJing now, I like to see a whole spectrum of the music being played, especially like on a night. You know, you have your different styles of DJs on the same lineup in the same room.
Strictly for the heads inside, we bring to you the music. We got the music, Metalheadz music. We bring to you strictly for the heads inside. The underground music, don't resist it, don't fight it, let yourself go. It's all about the beats that in time, with a break beats to blow your mind.
I'm not strictly breakbeat or strictly, you know, one type of music. I try and join different musical fields into one, you know, interesting, enjoyable, dynamic selection. And I try and basically do this sort of thing so that it isn't an eclectic mess, because I really don't like that word. And I don't really like sort of the idea of going to a club and hearing some guy playing all kinds of weird shit from different areas. I like to hear someone who can really create a story.
The main objective of any DJ is to make someone dance.
We're coming down to bring the bass mid-range and treble. We're coming down to keep it hard like metal. Smash the speakers, now rock your heads. Got to keep it rocking to the sound. Metalheadz.
Bad boys win. Keep eating big breakfasts and get ready for it. Because we'll implode. We'll fucking implode when we hit the corner, you know. Very, very hot, very bumpy. Not too good for the big guys, but we're managing. We're in third place. You've already done some tactics, so she doesn't know, man. Sorry, yeah? Look at the scoreboard right about there, yeah? Right. Slug. Get your own team talk, mate. Own team talk. Get your own team talk. Fucking cunt. Whenever I'm ready.
It's all about the fucking heads, mate. It's all about the fucking heads. Finished.
Breaking it. We're taking it. The Metalheadz #1.
Groove fucked up, yeah, groove fucked up, nicely.
Where is it?
Go on, Jamie! Come on, Jay! Go on, Jamie!
Raking it. Much damage. Yes, we're taking it. Metalheadz, who's #1?
Seconds. And in just a few moments, we're bringing the winning team's cars out for a lap of honour.
Oh well.
him and Diesel will always be like the son of Carl, he's the son of Dillinger, because he's more of like a funky Dillinger in a sense, because he has a lighter side to him, but he's very Carl orientated in terms of the way he programs.
2 years ago, this sort of dark thing was coming because a lot of people were like, oh yeah, let's get nasty, which is cool. And a lot of people sort of started to define, yeah, well, I can get nastier than you, and do you know what I mean? Which was good, but I think it's got a bit sort of stale at the moment for me personally, where it's like, okay, well, show what the music's about, because it's not to stick to one sort of sound. That's the loop there. But I'll say it's when I bring it back, it's like, personally I like it slower because you can get a lot more in, whereas now it's more faster but it's more minimalistic because you can't fit music within that boundary. They've taken it to the limit where you can put, you know, sounds at 175 but you can't put music to 175. So that's where I'm stuck at this sort of thing now, and I think they're going to find, well, if we go back a few BPMs or we just stick to what we're doing, and another sort of set of producers break away and do stuff a little bit slower. I think that personally, it's like, you know, as long as people start realising that you can't go too fast with the music and take it back down a bit and put music within the boundaries, then it might start changing. But at the moment, it's got to that point where they've realised we're getting faster. It's all good because, like, you know, it's keeping the crowd up, but the music does become a bit too minimalistic.
I remember a track quite a few years ago, and it was made at what the guy who made it obviously thought is ridiculously fast, and it's called something like "This Track's Too Fast," and do you know what I mean? It was obviously done as a bit of a joke, like no one's ever going to make a record this fast, and like now obviously it's exactly what people do all the time.
If you can go back to the first tune and, like, you know, in drum and bass like 4 or 5 years ago, it's the drum and bass guys that were producing like filtering and stuff like that, and now you can hear it in all the tunes. Now you can hear it in different music, house and whatever, and I think as long as the equipment keeps progressing, I think the drum and bass thing will progress. But there's like, I mean, I've got like about 30 different versions, so I'll keep drawing them in. So it all sounds organic instead of like a loop, do you know what I mean? Totally. I just use it as a template for now. Yeah. Once I get them all in, and I'll just change them around with different ones.
Nowadays it's progressed so much where you do need like the equipment and the technology, but back then you just needed a simple setup like for $1,000 or something.
It's simple, it's just basically a sampler, yeah? You go into, I'll show you my sampler. Basically it's like you go, it's the same process, it's just you've got this hands-on, instead of like sitting there and doing it there. It's like you just tweak it there.
The technology involved in music making now gives you so much freedom. It gives you too much freedom, actually.
It's easy once you know how. You know, if you know how to use the equipment and everything, then you can find it. Do you understand? If you're someone that just wants to get that sound straight away, you don't know what to do, you're going to go and buy the equipment, you're lost.
I'm able to record my horns just into the hard disk, and then they come up on the screen. I can move them around. I can take bits out. You can never do that on a 24 track.
So it's just like a tone. I could go to a tone, yeah, but these are all the same tones, really. It's just that someone's pre-programmed and made shit out of it, you know. You change the waveform. The octave. Sometimes it can eat you. It can eat you up if you haven't got a social life. You've got to break away from it, and you've got to do other things apart from being in the studio, because it can like crank you up.
We've made friends with our machines. That's kind of what we've had to do you know what I mean? Because we haven't seen anybody. It's like, yeah, you know, the machines are your friends.
Anyone can go into a studio and start, you know, twiddling a load of knobs, but if it doesn't sound right on the mix down, it'll sound sort of shit out on the club, you know what I mean? It's a hard job, it can actually crack you up.
So what, we're picking our own team?
That's it, mate.
What, you four be the rest of us?
You four be the rest of us. Right, West Moor, let's all Spurs and DC. I left this fella here.
Junkie bastard. Nettles, isn't it? Goldie's fucking rubbish at football. Any prefer cricket anything. I like netball myself. Arsenal's loose dining.
That was a goal, mate. Goal. What was it? Goal. It was a fucking wicked goal. Great goal. No, it was a great goal. It was a great goal. Trenton Shilton. Where is Peter Shilton right now? Trenton, you had a video, mate.
Oh yeah, we've been playing. That's why I was low necking. What? We was playing up here, weren't we?
A picky. Had one up. I told you, right?
I've been working in record stores since I was 17, and I used to work in an half price, and basically around that time, that was when techno and that was just starting to sort of come through, so I was like literally picking it up straight off the shelf.
We started to promote sort of small series of underground illegal raves in our area where we come from. We'd have like 300 people come down, and it would just be a hardcore kind of drug-induced warehouse vibe of party.
Just the buzz of like of an illegal party, and then the police coming and stopping it, and a load of kids getting together and putting it on. And I think that was like the early buzz from the scene.
It's the same with us, you know. Don't get too complicated. It's all about like party thing and do a lot of tunes to play on systems, you know.
DJ'd on a few pirate radio stations, Defection FM, Underground FM, Subtransmission FM. From the radio stations, build up a reputation, or a relationship I should say, with Chemistry and Storm, who basically introduced me to the whole Metalheadz fraternity.
I just always knew I was going to be a musician. My father told me to do something else, but it didn't really work.
I mean, there's not many labels that can't put anything out for 4 months and 5 months and still be fucking out there, because that's just what we do. What do? Just be like, every week, keep going until it's saturated, until it's fucked. You can't do that, man. And if it's not happening on the label, it's happening in the club. It's happening in the club, it's happening on the label.
You know, you can go through and never realise that there's a whole different world beneath the surface, man, like the underground thing. A mate of mine played me a few records and I was like, what the fuck's this, man? I haven't fucking heard this on the radio, you know what I mean?
It has gone mainstream, but it seems like, and when I say mainstream, I mean like a lot of adverts, just a lot of television adverts, a lot of just background music behind presenters on TV shows. It's got all drum and bass rhythms, but for some reason or not, they don't seem to be produced by the real people in drum and bass. They're just the same old TV producers that get sample CDs and just emulating what the drum and bass people do.
You can switch on your TV and listen to some advert and it's bare breakbeats on it. Do you know what I mean? So that just shows you how much we've had an effect on the whole scene and society. Because 10 years ago, they would have said, what are you talking about, speeded breaks? You know what I mean? They didn't want to know.
Even semi-consciously, you're listening to the music, semi-consciously even. So like you say, in an advert, a break thing, Sky Sports or whatever, you know, you are hearing the music and people aren't even realising that.
Well, it's difficult to say what mainstream really is. If we look at the hip-hop scene, you know, we got the hardest tunes selling the most, and you know, but what is mainstream and what isn't? It's whoever wants to listen to it and whoever wants to buy it.
We've had a lot of artists and producers that have actually signed to majors and have actually released singles with the intention of going towards the charts or being commercially orientated in that way.
You go to a major label if guys sitting there chatting a load of crap, then I'm not interested. You know, if he's got something to say, he's genuine and he's understanding where we're coming from, then we're interested.
I don't think it is mainstream. I mean, fundamentally it's just good.
If we got drum and bass tracks on top of the pops, then people would view that as being that's mainstream, it's pop, what they're doing and things like that.
really is, when you make music, ultimately you make it for yourself, but it's nice to play it to people, man, and hear what they think and get reactions, and you know, I like that. So as far as I'm concerned, I want as many people as possible to hear my music.
Drum and bass is the next level, and I think personally drum and bass is the music for the millennium.
It's not following no commercial pattern. I mean, the commercial press, the commercial record labels focused on the scene for the last couple of years, and they've long moved off it onto speed garage, onto the next thing. And people have even said, oh, drum and bass have died out, but that's bullshit, because the underground scene are still solid and following their roots.
The majors are like, you know, I mean, come on, you know what I mean? It's 1998, they're still doing the same old thing, and really they've got to take more notice. And what I'd like to see happen is people like, you know, Frosty, Brian, you know, other people taking charge, and hopefully majors coming forward and saying, well, look, hang on a minute, you know what I mean? Everyone can have a piece of the pie, but why don't we do the A&Ring, okay? And they just sell the records, because that's what they're good at. Give us the distribution worldwide, and we take care of business.
Right in the old cream crackers. Once again, another sparkling day at the Headz camp. It always starts in rain, but as you can see, it always finishes in bright sunshine. 7-1, Goldie at Headzville. 7-1, good day.
We've got shows on Kiss, Radio 1, so you know, 10 years from now, hopefully it would have taken over the whole planet.
Just locked on, it's Radio 1, it's Groove Rider in the chair to the hour of 4. Music policy, drum and bass strictly. As I say, in 15 minutes or so we go into the mix from Creamfields. Musicology, Radio 1 is where you hear it first, remember that.
Some noise for the rider!
What it is that we just try to stay on top of music. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we just always on the lookout for new things. You know, you can't get stuck in the same thing for so many years without changing. Do you know what I'm saying? And we're like, you know, we'd like to change. You know, it's progression for us, you know, and that's how we work, and that's how I work. They're my rules. You know, always be on the lookout, never be negative to anything that's new. You know, and that's the way you learn. So now we're out to Die Sub, also to Crust. And not forgetting the Hand Poncho, Ronnie Size. I don't have a plan or anything, you know, it's just whatever hits me at the time. Because music's a heart thing, it's not a head thing.
DJing is really easy, okay? I mean, anyone can do it, you know, anyone can play a couple of records, do you know what I mean? But, at the end of the day, you've got your dons, you've got your real heavyweights, you've got your maestros, you've got your leaders, and to me, if you ask me who the two best DJs in breakbeat, drum and bass are, the two guys who I'd run a long way to go and listen to, it would be Groove Rider or Crust. at the end of the day, the Dons are the Dons, and you need them, and they inspire the J Magics and the Giles Petersons to go along and play a few breakbeat records and get away with it.
I just hope that, you know, one day I can switch on the radio and it's just going to be drum and bass all day long. Do you know what I mean?
A lot of producers now have just got to keep their flavours. Instead of moving on to something new and forgetting the old flavours, forgetting the techno, maybe it's moved on to another thing now. They might forget the funk. They shouldn't forget the funk. Keep with the funk, keep all flavours running, because it gets too concentrated into one flavour. I just think everyone should keep the flavours, keep all the flavours, and keep rolling out all the flavours.
In the future they can look at that and say that was as far into the future as anyone was going.
To me, it's the most futuristic music going at this present moment. There's nothing else that is so advanced. You know, every other type of music, I look at it, is very timid.
If you knew what people were going to be making tomorrow, you would have made it last week, but
it's just going to progress into, it's in its own thing already, it's established its own thing, and it will just carry on.
From what I can see, drum and bass is just spreading all over the world, you know, which is another thing that shocks me.
A lot of the artists are moving on to setting up other records or signing to bigger labels, but they keep putting out their underground tracks through a label like Metalheadz, and that's so important for the music to be alive.
Basically, all the overground people, they always look to the underground to see what's new, and they grab hold of that and make it overground. So if we can establish a real underground drum and bass network in the States, then it's going to cross over. It just might take 10 years.
The times that they're going through now is the reward for all the times they went through then. Do you know what I mean? When they were putting in like 3-4 gigs a night, when guys were travelling like, yo, this part of London, that north of England, down here, over there, yeah, them, so they put in the work. They put in the work, so at the end of the day, they're just reaping the rewards of what they've created for themselves, really.
So whether or not he stops tomorrow, I don't really give a fuck, to be quite frank, because we did it all. I kind of did it all. I wasn't really supposed to get out of Warsaw, was I? Let's face it. I wasn't supposed to get further than the bottom of Lou Joseph Children's Home Drive, but I got out of there. So anything, I don't really give a fuck what happens after tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? I could go home and die, and it doesn't really matter to me. What really matters is just that I'm not forgotten. And the music is obviously entombed, so to speak. It's already kind of scratched into the rocks. It already exists.